Say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, things are getting strange out there, isn't it? A lot of things closing up, and you can't do a lot of the things that you wanted to do. And are we being safe? Are we being overreactive? Who knows? But I can tell you one thing, and that is that the movie industry has really not been affected by this coronavirus thing. In fact, I think I've seen more movies since the virus hit than previous. Now, you're sitting there saying, I can't go to the theaters. What are you talking about? All the major releases have been postponed. Yes, that is all very, very true. But the movie industry itself has not halted. That's why I've been able to give you a consistent flow of shows, and tonight is no exception to that rule. I have a bevy of movies to tell you about that are all brand new releases, and you can watch them in the privacy and safety of your own home, as they are all available on VOD, home video, and of course your favorite streaming devices, including those games where you can kill millions with your thumbs. All of that and a whole lot more for you tonight as Cinematic Class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. There are a lot of movies coming out, and they are movies from independent studios and studios that never really relied on the box office to begin with. So, where do you spend your entertainment dollars, especially since those entertainment dollars might be getting a little bit tighter during this pandemic? Well, I'm here to let you know. First up on the agenda is something that would apply to, probably countless ladies. It's a female athletic sports story. At least that's what the hype about it says. It's called Ragdoll, and what happens in Ragdoll is that you're dealing, well, a ragdoll, first off, is someone who basically is a sparring partner to all the stars. That's the person who goes into the ring and basically gets their butt kicked by the stars that the gym is trying to promote. And what happens in Ragdoll, it's about two lady warriors who are MMA artists, mixed martial arts artists. There's a problem. There's a very big problem. Both of the stars, while doing a very good job playing their parts, can't fight. And it's obvious they can't fight. The star of this movie is really the director of photography, who manages to use an awful lot of close-ups so you don't see too badly the fact that the ladies can't fight. It's more about a story about relationships, and the relationships that are in the movie are kind of bad ones at that. So it's a movie that aims for the fences and bounces out to the second baseman. Here's a look at Ragdoll.
That's why you're here. I see something in you. I just need you to see it.
Your face, Nora. Is that a sign that you're good?
Well, actually, there are a few people at the gym who think that I should join the upcoming MMA tournament, so yeah. I got fired today.
For what?
For fighting.
What the f***'s going on with you?
Can't stop thinking about you.
I really have nothing else I can give you.
Why does it always have to be a fight with you, Nora?
Because everything is a fight.
Maybe you shouldn't do this.
It'll be weird if you die before I do. Life is a fight, maybe, Nora. But you don't have to hurt everyone around you.
Okay, so here's the scenario. It's the middle of the night, your phone rings, and it's your best friend from high school. I haven't seen this guy in over a decade, but he's in deep trouble, and he's called you for help. Do you leave the comfort of your home, your wife in bed, and go help your buddy? That's the whole premise around a movie called Turnabout. And this movie was written and directed and is the baby of E.B. Hughes. He has actually put together a really good tale here that involves, helping a friend, a lot of drinking, some prostitutes, and don't forget murder. That's in there as well. This turned out to be a pretty decent thriller. It's called Turnabout. Here's a look.
Hurry, listen, I really need help.
You haven't seen or heard from this guy in ages, and he calls out of the blue, and you're off to his rescue?
He obviously needs my help, Lisa.
Let's see you get some coffee. Mr. Billy Kane, where you been?
I'm Sherry, Harry.
That's nice.
Sit down and do a line. Hey man, this doesn't look too good.
Is she dead?
From start to finish, please. It's all a blur, Billy.
What's your wife think your little problem?
What are you doing here?
Okay, as we're taping this, it's very early in the morning. I have not had my quota of coffee, so jaw doesn't seem to be working real well, as you could probably tell from the first segments. But here we go. The name of this movie is a word I always have problems with. Abominable. I don't know why I do. It doesn't flow off my tongue very well. The movie is obviously about a Yeti. I get out of it that way. And people who are going to look not for the Yeti, but for the Yeti's plant. Okay, there's a little plant, and it has a whole lot of hope and promise with it. Now, Joe Ellis is the person who wrote this movie. I see what he was trying to do, but like a lot of screenwriters who are around for the first go-around, he's tried to do too much in one little story. This story isn't that long. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long, which is nice. But there's too many different aspects and different plot twists thrown into it, and it's all kind of jumbled at the end, and as a result, it kind of sort of shoots itself in the foot. For those of you who like gore scenes, however, Abominable does have a few of those, including one in which the good old abominable snowman comes along and rips a guy's face off.
Don't come looking for us. There's something out here.
This wasn't a random killing. This was a warning.
We're caught in a natural anomaly, a prehistoric gap.
We're being followed.
An abominable creature.
It's real. Come on! We don't know where this creature is or what it's doing here.
Next up on our docket is a movie that was written, directed, and edited by Samuel Farmer. And it's a movie called Cry for the Bad Man. Now, originally, the movie was called Curse of the Bad Man. Once you see the story, Cry for the Bad Man fits a whole lot better and ties into the story plot a lot better, too. But, the story plot is one of the main hang-ups on this. Even till today, but beginning in their highlight back in the 70s, when the Chinese would make films and not pandemic viruses, the directors of Chinese films would not have a script. What they would have is basically an outline. And they depended a lot on the actors to improvise their dialogue. In other words, you have to be angry and you have to say this, and then they would let the actor do that. It's an interesting way to make movies, and certainly you can get some gems, and I guess a lot of takes as well. But it's almost as if this movie was made in this fashion. There is a basic plot of people wanting this woman's farmland, but it's never explained why. It's never explained why they would go to criminal elements to acquire this land. What's so valuable about it? Why is there something going through? Is there gold? You never know. You never find out. And for that, it reminds me a lot of those early 1970s Chinese films. I'll tell you one thing it does teach you. Hey, beware of older women.
I understand our old man's lawyer gave you a more than fair offer on this place.
I ain't selling.
There's a contract. My brother'll be back tomorrow night to collect it.
I was all real sorry to hear about your husband's passing. Word around town is that Bill Sr. done made an offer on this place. Take it.
These boys are not taking no for an answer. This is serious.
God doesn't give us what we can't handle.
But I ain't here to pray.
We're not planning on hurting this woman, right?
How long do you think it's going to last?
Long as it needs to.
You know, eventually this has to stop. I can't put up with this much longer. Well, look at this. I'm getting kind of shaggy. Right? I need a haircut. And when I got rid of my winter beard, I had to do it myself. That's why it probably looks the way it does. That's not just my face. It's nice when you can call Sam up at House of Fairuza. You know, you go down there with your beard and your shaggy hair, and he takes care of everything for you. And believe me, nothing removes the winter beard like that nice sharp razor and the creams and all the stuff, hot towels that he puts. It's a nice way to be pampered, really. And I couldn't do it because of this pandemic closing everything down. I'm not going to take this much longer, I'll tell you. I'm going to be like Albert Feeney and start throwing up windows, telling everybody I'm mad as hell. But on the other side, the House of Fairuza Cigar Lounge is still open. And that's kind of nice because big screen TVs, pool table, card tables, and don't forget, you have yourself a nice place to get some gentleman libations, if you will, and some of the finest cigars that you can light up. It's a private club, so you can still get the little password and get in there anytime you want. It's nice to clear the head, get away, you know, from the house and whatever is causing you some grief, and just kick up your feet and relax. It's the House of Fairuza Cigar Lounge. You got to check it out today as best you can. Anybody remember Cynthia Dixon? Yeah. She was pretty big when Sex and the City was pretty big, but that show has gone the way of the Brontosaurus, and pretty much so has Cynthia Nixon's career. But she shows up in this movie called Stray Dolls. You know, this is about, well, for lack of a better term, wayward women. All right? What it actually turns out to be is a very watered-down version of Thelma and Louise. Remember that movie? I hated that movie. I couldn't sit through it. It was just terrible. But this is a watered-down version of that, and they add in the extra cultural commentary on immigration. If you're into that stuff, then Stray Dolls may be worth a view.
Are you a criminal?
Hey, I'm going out on a limb here for you. You in or not?
I'm not doing it.
Okay, how do you think we're gonna get out of here then?
Folding sheets.
This is America. You want the rainbow, you gotta put up with the rain.
If we're doing this, we have to do it right. We can leave this place. We start over.
Where would we go?
To Bonnie and Bart or something?
No one's ever saved me before.
I'm supposed to be meeting a friend of mine who's staying here.
Where is he?
Do you know what they want to do with me?
It's gonna be okay.
Where's the car? Okay.
I never asked any of this.
So, you know, up to this point, I've pretty much given you movies that are pretty much average movies, and you're saying, well, where are all the horror movies? Well, fear not. Evil Little Things. No, this is not a movie about your kids. This is about dolls, okay? You really can't go wrong with horror movies on dolls, and what makes this one even better is the fact that it's an anthology. So there are 3 different evil dolls involved in this little story. You know, the first story deals with a leprechaun doll. It's the longest of the 3, and it's probably the toughest one to get through because it kind of drags a little bit. But that's the neat thing about anthologies. If one story is kind of like, you've got other stories to perk it up. And the other 2 in this are pretty good. I will tell you there are some really bad edits in this. Just edits that don't flow well. You know, they have a thing in the business called the seamless edit. And what you're supposed to do is edit something so people watching don't notice the edit. They didn't do that in this. And I do want to mention one person. I'm going to probably butcher her name, and I'm sorry for doing that. Yasmin Bakhtiari, and I hope I said that right. She not only wrote all 3 of the doll stories, but she actually got to voice one of the dolls. So I think that was pretty much a kick, and it was nice to see her name come up twice. Evil Little Things.
Found elephant.
Oh, see if you can find that.
Hello.
Oh.
Are you looking for something specific or just browsing? Everything in this store has a story to tell.
Since the last episode, I have to tell you the best movie I've seen is a movie called Blood and Money. Let me explain what's going on here. You know, when you have an action star and they become, a little bit older, all right, it's necessary for the action star to find a different milieu because they can't do the action anymore. But that's hard to get out of your system once you're an action star. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a good example. He did a movie called The Last Stand, where he played kind of a rough-and-tumble sheriff who had to worry about a drug dealer coming into his town. And he played it up at times for laughs, but it was more a real... He couldn't do the things he used to do. He had a hard time, was becoming winded, that type of thing. Sly Stallone took it in a totally different direction, where he gathered a whole bunch of aging action stars and put them all together just for, kicks and giggles, and had the Expendables, which went off to be a franchise. Well, Tom Berenger was in the same position, and he stars in this Blood and Money. And you're going to say, I don't really remember Tom Berenger being an action star. But you got to check yourself here. Probably one of his best roles was playing the rather hard-boiled detective in Someone to Watch Over Me. But don't forget, he starred in the Sniper series, and I think that went about 6 movies. And he also starred in a series called The Substitute, and I think there were 4 of those movies. So we can put him in this, and here we go again. It's an action thriller, but, Tom's a little bit long on the tooth, as they say. But he manages to pull off one of his best performances in a long time in a story that was an awful lot of fun to watch. Now, let me give you a little caveat here. Originally, this movie was called Allagash. Apparently, the Allagash is this big forest area in northern Maine, and that's where all the action here takes place. Once they looked at the title, I think they thought probably a lot of people wouldn't understand the title, and they went with Blood and Money. So depending on what device you may use, you may find this under Allagash. In any event, it's a movie worth your time to watch.
So how long are you up here this time?
I think another week.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
My daughter's gone. My son and I haven't talked with each other in a year.
Jimmy, be careful if you go in that way. There's no way to track you.
I just want to get out there, bag my buck this season.
Where's the money? There's tracks everywhere.
A manhunt continues for 5 suspects in a violent armed robbery. The 5 are considered armed and extremely dangerous.
Nobody's gonna pin you down, that's for sure.
Damn straight.
Give us the money back. We know everything about you.
Go ahead, kill me.
I don't give it.
Is that blood on your jacket? Looks pretty fresh.
So originally, the plan was to take the David L. Lawrence Convention Center and turn it into a hospital because of the pandemic. That plan has pretty much been scuttled. Apparently, those extra beds are not needed. The pandemic doesn't seem to be as disastrous as some of the early models called for. Well, why bring that up? Well, because the convention center is still open, and so far, that means the Three Rivers Comic-Con is still on. Now, Governor Wolf has come out and placed on these massive quarantine restrictions, and supposedly they're to go to May 15th. And that would still give us 2 weeks to get to the Comic-Con because it happens on the 30th and the 31st. So far, everybody crossing their fingers and toes. This thing is a go. I hope it comes off. Like I said, I've had a blast on these things before, and whether they make you wear masks or only let a few in at a time, it's definitely worthwhile. There's an awful lot of talent at these things. Todd and John are heading it up again. They're the folks who own New Dimension Comics, and we're going to try to get them on a show. I'm not sure how that's going to play between now and the actual Comic-Con because of, social distancing and what have you. But nonetheless, we are going to give it a bit of a yeoman's try, if you will. I hope to see you down there. I hope all this has blown over by then, and we can all get together at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center May 30th and 31st and check out all of the talent and goodies to buy at the Three Rivers Comic-Con. They have some interesting panel discussions and things like that, too, where you can actually learn some things. It's not bad. I've always said one of my favorite, an adage, if you will, is the man who says more in less is the better man. Now, that certainly fits the movie Nightfire. This movie is 42 minutes long. Yeah, so technically, I guess it's considered a short film, although most short films are about 15 minutes long. I have to tell you, I wasn't exactly sure if this was a movie or if it was a pilot for a TV show. I actually had to contact the studio and say, okay, what's the dealio here? No, it's a movie. And I mean, it's complete. When you watch it from beginning to end, it's a whole story. And you know what? There's no nonsense in here. Because it's told in 42 minutes, you don't have a whole plethora of subplots. You don't have, all kind of social commentaries being brought in because you're dealing with a world of international intrigue. You just have an awful lot of action and an awful lot of plot twists. This was fun. 42 minutes. And, I normally say these movies are going to your favorite streaming device. This one, I believe, is going to be exclusive to Hulu. It's called Nightfire.
3 weeks ago, the people of Ukraine sent to the world a desperate call for help. In the coming weeks, the United States will legally acquire Ukraine's territory for a funding donation of $2 billion.
If you're gonna pull the trigger, make sure you're aiming the gun at the right people. If you go rogue, they will hunt you down. They will find you and
they will kill you.
In times of clear and present danger, whatever our hopes may be for the future, our way of life is under attack. There is very grave danger in ensuring the survival of our nation.
So much for a quiet exit.
You know, when I first saw this movie, I thought, well, I'm in for a nice science fiction thriller. It's called Red Rover, and it's about the first trip to Mars, the colonization of Mars. You know, it actually didn't turn out to be anything about that. I mean, it's in there, but it's kind of like an underlying subplot. What really happens here is it's kind of a love story, and as such, it's a love story that you sit there and go, okay, you know, I'd probably rather have gone to Mars. It is written, directed, produced, and shot by Shane Belcourt. It's called Red Rover.
Imagine human settlement on the planet Mars. Those going won't be coming back.
Congratulations on taking your first step towards the Red Planet.
You want to go to Mars? Damon, this is ridiculous.
Well, I don't think so.
You're doing that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll help you make this video.
Seriously?
Yeah. Action.
Morning.
Hi. Hi. I'm Phoebe.
Oh, you're Phoebe.
It's not like you actually have a shot at this, right? I mean, they got over, 200,000 applicants? You want to change the world. It's not going to happen.
The things you're going to see and experience up there, it's mind-blowing. For me, I think I'd always feel that unresolved thing back here.
I don't think I want to leave anymore.
I think this new world you're trying to build out there deserves him more than I do.
I was built to live here with you.
Will you be taking that step with us?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have for tonight's episode. There are a plethora of movies still coming out. In fact, once I leave this studio, even the big studios are starting to send screeners now. I have one from Lionsgate, one from MGM I have to watch and will feature for you on the next show. But I've got to tell you that I'm not exactly sure how this is going to come off. We are taping this episode just a short time before Governor Wolf's new edict comes into play where everyone has to wear masks. And that would include all of us here at the TV studio. Now, let me ask you, truthfully, do you think this visage of handsomeness should be covered by a mask? No, it can't be. So I'm not exactly sure if we're going to be able to get back into the studio at any time soon. I know that Governor Wolf has put the some very strict quarantine rules on until May 15th. That may not happen. I know there are protests already being planned at the state capitol to rescind these orders. And I know the opposition, the Republicans in the state, are trying to fight him on this, claiming that his edicts are questionable as far as legality is concerned. So there is a possibility that it may not last until May 15th. And if it doesn't, well, we'll be right back in the studio and give you your show. If it does, and he wins all this stuff, well, then David and I are putting our heads together, and we're going to try to find out a way to continue to bring you the bleeding edge of film reviews and film entertainment. In the meantime, let me remind you that when individual films are released, I will put out little video capsule critiques on the YouTube channel. Here's the URL for you down below. You can always go on there, and you get maybe a 7-minute, 8-minute little review of the movie, just so you know where to spend that entertainment dollar. A whole lot of interesting things coming up in the weeks ahead, and hopefully I will be back in the studio for you in relatively short time. Now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.